Cambridge AS Computer Science, Chapter 5, System Software, Part 1. System software is majorly seen as the operating system. So you have in your computer system some system software that is mainly the operating system, commercially called Windows, but commercial names are not allowed. Also, you have application programs like word processing, spreadsheet, and all other programs. So we are now mainly concerned with system software. The system software does a lot of work. System software does so many things. Okay? The operating system must be the first program to be loaded. The operating system is responsible of providing a user interface. The operating system is responsible for making the hardware operate. The operating system is responsible for security. The operating system is responsible for multitasking. What is that? Multitasking. The ability to run several programs at the same time. The operating system is very, very, very busy. Okay? So we need to study today about system software and operating system, memory management, utilities, disk defragmentation, antivirus, because an antivirus is also a utility. There are a lot of things to study about system software. Let us start to study chapter 5. So system software and operating system. An operating system is some form of software that controls the hardware. An operating system is an example of type of software called system software. This distinguishes it from application software. So basically, we have two types of software, system and application. You should be familiar with that in ICT O-level or computer science O-level. So the system software is a type of software. One example of system software is the operating system. And other utilities and translators, compilers and interpreters, they all belong to system software. Okay, let us talk much about the operating system. The operating system provides an environment within programs can run. So it provides the desktop, it provides the functionality of the computer, memory management, peripheral management. For example, if you buy a printer, you need the device driver, the driver for that printer to be installed. Okay, the device driver is system software and is going to be installed in the operating system. Reasons why a personal computer needs an operating system. The hardware is unusable without OS. OS stands for operating system, as it hides complexity of hardware from the user. You don't have to worry how your hard disk is working. You just click on button save, and you see I'm using an application. Word is an application. However, when I press and save, Word passes the request to save to the operating system, and the operating system is saving the data. Okay, the operating system acts as an interface. You know, you have command line interface and graphical user interface. You have the desktop. We call it user interface. The operating system is providing a user interface and controls communication between user and hardware. The system software provides a software platform, an environment on which programs can run. So you just buy a program that runs under Windows 10 or Windows 11. And Windows 10 or Windows 11 is the operating system and is making it run on the hardware. Okay. Key management tasks performed by the operating system. Please notice that these are all exam questions. My notes is loaded with exam questions. Okay? What are the key management tasks performed by the operating system? The activities of an operating system can be subdivided into different categories. Process management and process and resource management. Process is a running program. Resource management manages all resources. Resources like, for example, the RAM, the hard disk. Main memory management. Memory still has its own management. Peripheral hardware and device management. File and secondary storage management. Manage your folders. Security management. Interrupt handling. You know interrupts from the O level. When an error occurs, an interrupt is sent to the processor or the operating system seeking its attention. Let us study this. This is a mark scheme for an exam question. What is memory management? Main memory management. The user closes the spreadsheet. The operating system removes the program of the spreadsheet from memory. What is input and output management? The user selects the print command to output their spreadsheet. You want to print, the printer is an input or output device, the operating system manages this. What is secondary storage? The user select the save to save their spreadsheet. What is human computer interface? The user moves the mouse because this is part of the graphical user interface. Okay, let us study about user interface. So this is the user. The user interacts with an application. The application interacts with the operating system. The operating system operates the hardware. Hardware contains the CPU, input, output, and the RAM. So user interface, a user interface is used. The user interface is your desktop, where you can put commands and click on icons. Allow the user to get hardware and software, do something useful. An operating system should provide at least command line interface where you type commands, graphical user interface icon with desktops and with icons and menus and pointer. Okay, provision for a user interface. Allow a user to communicate with the hardware by making navigation around the system easier. Provide facility to input data. When you want to save, you click on button save. You don't need to type save. This is called graphical user interface and it is easier. So the operating system is providing with user interface. Is also providing program hardware interface. Look at this stack. At the very bottom, you have hardware. On top of it, the operating system. On top of the operating system is application. At the far top is the user. So for example, when the user clicks on button save on the application passes the save request to the operating system. The operating system saves the file on the hard disk, which is hardware in this diagram. The operating system has to ensure that hardware does what the software wants to do. The operating system has to provide mechanism for the execution of program. Resource management. What are the resources? Your hard disk, your RAM, but RAM has its own management. When the execution of a program has begun, it is described as a process. So a process is a running program. Each process needs to access to resources. A process needs time from the processor. A process needs locations in the memory. The resource management provided by the operating system aim to achieve optimum efficiency. You want to run as many programs simultaneously as possible. Okay, The two most important aspects is scheduling the processor time, and resolution of conflict when two processes require the same resource. Process management, you only have one processor and several programs running at the same time. So they come in turn into the processor, and the processor will be doing the calculation for everyone in turn. Okay? So process management. What is a process? A process is a running program. A process. So this is this is very important. Actually, in the A2, you will be studying extensively in detail process management and memory management, including virtual memory. Okay, these are the main two topics that will go with you till the A2 level. So process management, what is a process? A process is a running program. Okay, you have like 10, 20 programs running, and you are dividing the CPU time among every program in turn. Okay, I hope this diagram is illustrative. I hope. Okay, so process management manages the scheduling of processes. What is a process? A running program. Allow multitasking to allow several programs to run at the same time. Ensure fair access and handle priorities. Manage which resource the process requires. Enable process to share information, prevents interference. Look at this. This is more important. This is, I copied this from the textbook. However, I copied that from the mark scheme. This is more important. The operating system, OS, manage processes in the computer. What is a process? A running program. Manage scheduling. What is scheduling? Deciding which process will go into the processor in turn, and decide the order to run process. Manage resources the process requires, such as memory. Memory is also very, very critical resource. Enable processes to share data. Okay, prevent interference between processes and resolution of conflicts. Handle process queue. What is a queue? Let us say, for example, you send 2 or 3 orders to the printer. The printer will handle the first order, and the 2 others will remain in a queue. Allow multitasking and multiprocessing by ensuring fair access and handling priorities. Okay, it looks like the mark scheme is also similar to what I have copied from the textbook. Study these very well. Okay, so this is managing processes. What is a process? A process is a program running. So this is process management. This is one of the main tasks of the operating system. Okay, next, memory management. These are the two most important tasks of the operating system. Handles the allocation of memory. When a program is run, it must be loaded to the main memory, RAM. And the main memory has to be partitioned. The memory manager creates segments in main memory and load a specific application and processes into them. The memory is divided into segments because you have several programs running in memory. So memory management handles the allocation of memory to processes. What is a process? A process is a program while running. Ensure 2 programs do not attempt to use the same memory location. Otherwise, it's going to be a conflict or crash. Keeps track of allocated and free memory locations. Okay, there are 3 important aspects of memory management. The memory organization scheme is chosen optimum usage of limited memory, for example, virtual memory. If your RAM is insufficient, you use part of the hard disk as virtual memory. And this is called paging, because the program then is divided into pages. Some of them will be in the main memory, other pages will be on the hard disk. And segmentation, this is dividing the main memory into segments. Memory usage optimization involves decision which process should be in memory. Memory protection to ensure they do not delete each other. Look at this, this is copied from the MARC scheme. What is memory management? Allocates memory to process, and a process is a program running. Key process separates so you do not overwrite each other. Ensure fair usage of memory. Organizes memory. Make use of virtual memory. If the memory is insufficient, make use of virtual memory. Release memory when a process stops. When the process terminates, the operating system erases it from main memory. What else the operating system is doing? Device management. Managing the monitor, managing the hard disk, managing the printer, managing the keyboard, managing the mouse. This is called device management, sometimes called peripheral management. A peripheral is an outside device, like, for example, a printer, mouse, or keyboard, or monitor. But the hard disk is not a peripheral. The hard disk is inside the computer. Every computer has a variety of components that are categorized as devices. Example, monitor, screen, keyboard, printer, and webcam. Management of these require installation of the appropriate device driver, control uses by processes that is running programs. So in the question, in the exam, they ask about peripheral management. The answer was installation of device driver software. Manage interrupts and signals from the device. Send the control signal to the device. Control buffer. What is the buffer? A kind of memory in the printer, because the printer is slow. So we hold all the data to be printed in the buffer, while the printer is printing at its own speed. The processor is free to do other things. Management of queue. So this is peripheral management. Study them very well. And before is memory management. Okay, process management. Okay, the operating system is managing so many things. How data is read from the hard disk by the operating system. This is also device management. The application program executes a statement to read a file. Okay, application program passes file read request to the operating system. The operating system begins to spin the hard disk. You know, the hard disk HDD has moving parts. Okay, if it is not currently spinning, in the relevant directory file, the operating system look up the track and sector, because there are file management duties also. The head move to the correct track. The head reads the first cluster. This is rather the internal operation of the hard disk. Okay, when the hard disk has read the file, it generates an interrupt. The operating system transfers the contents of the disk buffer to the application. So this is how the operating system is doing device management. File management, creating folders and file naming. So you create folders, you create files, and file conventions. For example, .txt is a text file, .jpeg is a picture file. And control access, what user can see what files. This takes us to security management. Prevention of intrusion, prevention of hacking, ensuring data privacy, maybe encryption, recovery from data is lost, maybe backup. This is all data security. So data security is about keeping data safe. Okay? Security management task. Things in that color are just copied from the mark scheme. Set up user account. So to enable security, every user need to have a user account. Check username and password. Implement access rights. Automatic backup. So you create backup because among data security, you protect data from loss. Error detection and recovery. You should create backups. So if a file is corrupted, you may retrieve it from that backup. Error can arise in the execution of program, either because badly written or because it has been supplied with inappropriate data. An error would generate an interrupt. Other errors associated with devices not working correctly. The operating system should have the ability to interrupt a running program. This is interrupt handling. And provide error diagnostics. The operating system needs to be able to shut down in an organized fashion without loss of data. So, interrupt handling. Identify priorities of the interrupts. You have interrupts, and some interrupts are more urgent than others. If you have an urgent interrupt, you save the current memory and process values because the running program will be interrupted, and you load the appropriate interrupt service routine to handle that interrupt. Okay? Then we go to utilities. Systems that's it with the operating system. Okay? Memory management, process management, file handling. Now we start with utility programs. These are additional programs that help in the management of the computer. A utility program is one that might be provided by the operating system, but might also be installed on a separate entity. For example, you may use the antivirus utility of your operating system, or you may install an external program. Okay? So an antivirus is a utility. The first utility is disk formatter. When you buy a brand new hard disk, it must be formatted according to the system you will be using. They do not format it in the factory because you may use it with Windows 10, or you may use it with Apple Mac, or you may use it in another system. Okay, so it must be formatted using the appropriate operating system to enable file saving and file organization of that operating system. So disk formatter. It is very common, very popular that you hear the command format your flash memory, for example. But this is HDD. The flash memory is SSD. A disk formatter will typically carry out the following task. Set up the file system. Create a file system. You just use your file. You use this file explorer and deal with all the files you wish. Okay, but behind this, you have a disk is formatted and a file system is created. Okay, so set up the file system on the disk based on a table of content. What is that table of content? List of all files on that directory that allow file reorganization by the operating system to be associated with physical parts. So the file system knows what file will be stored on what part on the hard disk. Remove existing data from previous. If you format a previously used hard disk, all the data on it will be destroyed. Partitioning the disk into logical drives if required. Sometimes you may purchase a hard disk and make it 2 partitions. Then it will appear for you as if it is 2 separate hard disks. This is done by the disk formatter. Once there was an exam question that said needs for formatting. To configure the disk for use and initialize tracks and sectors, initialize a file system and create a file directory, install a boot sector to create a bootable disk will contain the operating system for the whole machine. When you turn on your computer, it loads the operating system from a bootable disk. Check sectors and mark bad sectors. In old days, hard disks used to have poor quality. They used to develop bad sectors. At that time, a utility disk formatting would mark bad sectors as bad sector to prevent storing data on them, because data stored on them will not be retrieved. Okay, another utility. These are all utilities. Another utility, disk defragmenter. What is that disk defragmenter? When you save and you erase and you save another file and you extend a file and then you erase another file, and there are some gaps on the hard disk between files, and files are no longer contiguous. They do not occupy a contiguous space. It is like when your disk is so full of subjects mixed up together, so full of papers and notes mixed between all subjects together. With extensive deleting and reading from the hard disk, files would become fragmented. Okay? The file is broken and scattered on different parts on the hard disk. What is defragmentation? Rearranging data on the hard disk so that files become contiguous again. This increases the speed and efficiency in reading files. This is very popular. Disk defragmentation is very popular and it comes often in the exam. And it is one of the utility programs. Hard disk defragmenter. A perfectly functional hard disk will gradually become less efficient because of the constant creation, editing, and deleting files, leave them in fragmented states. The hard disk will become less efficient. Files will become defragmented. This causes the logical arrangement of data. Files are not stored contiguously. Why? Because there are gaps and you save a file and then you increase the size of that file. So as you can see here, file A and file B and file C, you delete file B and you extend the file A. So file A has no space here. It goes beyond the file C. So file A is now fragmented. What is defragmentation? Just copy the files away and put them place in order. Defragmenter to rearrange blocks that are used for each file to make blocks contiguous so that file reading is faster and reduce head movement. As you can see, the blue blocks are together, the green blocks together, the red blocks are not yet together. This is in the process of defragmentation. Another utility called disk repair. When a disk is damaged, you would like to repair it. Check for any errors or bad sector on the hard disk. Resolve errors on the hard disk. This is disk repair. Retrieve files from damaged area. Try to reconstruct the directory. Bad sectors are marked as unusable. You can notice this when you disconnect a flash memory during copying. Next time you connect it, they will give you a warning that it needs repair. Disk repair software or disk checker or disk content analyzer and repair. Identify bad sectors so they can be marked as unusable. Verify file system integrity and fix logical system error. Disk cleaner. Sometimes you have lost file clusters that do not belong to any file. Find redundant, unnecessary files. Give the user the option to delete. As you can see here, disk clean. And this is disk space analyzer. Shows the percentage of disk space in a chart. Okay? So disk content analyzer, disk repair, disk checker. Okay, another topic, system backup software. You need to protect from data loss. You need to protect your data from accidental damage, accidental deletion, from natural disasters. If a computer is totally ruined, your data should remain. How come? Create a backup of important data and store that backup in another building, not on the same computer, because when the computer is damaged, it will be damaged together with the backup. No, put the backup on a removable media and put it in a fireproof, waterproof, in another building, so that if a natural disaster occurs, if the computer is destroyed, the data, there is another copy, put it on a cloud in another country. So do every effort. This is called backup. Do every effort to protect against data loss. It is quite likely that you perform a manual backup. What is manual backup? You put the memory in the flash memory in the computer and you copy data. Okay. However, a safer and more reliable approach is use backup utility. You may use a backup utility, for example, only creating backup daily and only creating backups for files that are changing. Because every day you create a backup will take a lot of space. Okay, so you have backup software. This is a utility in the system software. It is important to store disk content somewhere else in case of disk failure. How far should we go? Okay, very soon we stop and we try to solve exam questions. So it is a step performed by backup software. These are all exam questions. You are already now looking at exam questions. Create a copy of the contents of a hard disk. Can be set up to automatically backup and schedule backups. Allow the user to decide what to backup. Files that have changed since the last backup. Allow the user to set up off-site in another building. Enable encrypt the backup so hackers cannot get the data in it. Restores the data when it is necessary, that is, retrieve data from the backup. File compression. What is file compression? Sometimes you compress a file to save storage. So this is another utility to minimize hard disk usage. File compression, to compress and decompress the content of hard disk, thus increase capacity. We are talking about utilities. I am about to finish. Okay. The last thing is virus checker. The virus checker is also a utility, a very important utility, scanning the hard disk for known viruses and cleaning, deleting, repairing, or quarantine files, infected files. And that antivirus must be kept up to date and must be kept running in the background. A virus checker program should be installed as a permanent facility to protect computer system. It is necessary for a virus checker to regularly update, to be protecting you from the latest discovered virus. Steps performed by a virus checker. That was an exam question. Scan files stored on a computer system for malicious code. Scan files when they enter the system, memory stick inserted or file downloaded. Set up schedule virus checking. Isolate, quarantines, or delete viruses. Regularly update virus definitions to be protecting you from the latest discovered virus. Anti-malware. A virus is a kind of malware. Malware is malicious program, stands for all harmful programs. Okay, so anti-malware is just antivirus. Okay, let us go to these examples. The question said, give the name of the utility program that rearrange the data on a disk so that files are contiguous and all free space is collated together. This is disk defragmenter. Okay, see, they come in the exam. Prepare a disk for initial use. This is disk formatter. Reduce the file of a size. This is file compression. Examine the disk to find any bad sector. This is disk content analysis or disk repair. Okay, many questions. Let us study them all. Disk formatter, set up the disk so it is ready to store files. Defragmentation, move parts of files so that each file is contiguous in memory. Actually, it should not be in memory. It should be on the disk. However, they write sentences that are not very comfortable. Okay? Disk defragmentation does not work on memory. Disk defragmentation only works on the hard disk. However, this is your best choice and you have to connect. Backup. What is backup? Create a copy of data in case the original is lost. Disk repair. Scan for errors in a disk and protects them. Okay? What else? Utility virus checker. It scans for malicious program code. Disk formatter to initialize a disk. Backup to create copies of file in case of original file is lost. Disk repair to check for and fix inconsistencies on a disk. Defragmentation, reorganize files so they are contiguous. Okay, what is left in that chapter? I think still plenty of things in the chapter. Maybe we keep it for another session. Let us now look at exam questions.